Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into the book of Job.
Oh, the Book of Job.
Yeah, it's a story that really grapples with that age-old question, why do bad things happen to good people? We'll unpack how Job's righteousness
Right.
intersects with his immense wealth and explore the anxieties that lurk
Oh, interesting.
beneath the surface of his seemingly perfect life.
Okay.
So let's travel back in time, about 2000 to 1800 BC.
Wow, way back.
To meet Job, a man described as blameless, upright,
Right.
and fearing God.
Wow, that's quite a reputation.
Yeah, the book of Job emphasizes that Job's righteousness wasn't just for show.
Right.
It permeated every aspect of his life, reflecting a genuine connection with God. In fact, the book of Ezekiel places him in the same league as Noah and Daniel.
Two other, big figures.
Yeah, heavy hitters renowned for their unwavering faith.
Unwavering faith, that's something else.
Placing Job alongside these biblical, heavyweights, as we said, really emphasizes the exceptional nature of his character. But what's fascinating is that even with this profound righteousness, Job wasn't immune to anxiety. And this is where his wealth comes into play.
Interesting.
We're talking about a man who possessed 7,000 sheep.
Whoa, hold on.
3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen.
The
list goes on and on.
That's incredible.
And in Job's time, this wasn't just about material comfort.
Right.
It was a sign of God's favor.
Absolutely, a sign of blessing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as we'll see, this very blessing becomes a source of anxiety for Job.
Oh, how so?
Well, he constantly worried about his children's spiritual well-being.
Okay.
Fearing they might stray from God's path.
I see. So despite all those blessings, there's this underlying worry.
The text describes how Job would hold these elaborate feasts for his children, followed by burnt offerings for each of them.
Burnt offerings.
Just in case they had sinned or cursed God in their hearts.
Wow, he was really going all out.
Yeah. It seems almost obsessive for a man so righteous, wouldn't you say?
It definitely speaks to a deep fear.
Yeah.
That even blessings can be lost.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Job's wealth, rather than bringing him peace of mind,
Right.
amplified his anxieties.
Yeah.
He understood the gravity of sin
Right.
and the potential consequences of straying from God's path.
Yeah, and this brings up an important question for us today.
What's that?
Can material possessions truly provide spiritual security?
That's a tough one.
It's a question that we'll keep coming back to as we delve deeper into Job's story.
Okay.
Job's story seems to suggest that maybe they can't.
Interesting.
He clearly loved his children and took his role as their spiritual leader very seriously, consistently seeking to guide them towards righteousness.
So this proactive approach to parenting is pretty interesting.
Yes.
Especially when you contrast it with some modern day approaches.
Yeah, where spiritual education's often delegated to institutions.
Exactly. You just drop them off at Sunday school.
Right, exactly.
But Job was deeply involved.
Yeah, and it's remarkable how consistent Job's piety seems throughout his life.
Yeah.
It really makes the trials that he faces even more impactful.
It makes you wonder what a man like him could possibly have to fear.
That's a great question, and it leads us to the arrival of a mysterious character.
Oh, a new character enters the scene.
Known as the Adversary.
The Adversary.
And this marks a turning point in Job's story.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Now, this isn't quite the devil we might picture today.
Oh, okay.
The Hebrew word Satan translates to accuser.
Okay, so more of an accuser then.
Yeah, and in Job, it's more like a prosecutor in a heavenly court.
So, like, God is holding court,
exactly.
and this adversary is presenting arguments against Job.
Precisely.
Interesting.
What do you make of this character?
Well, it seems like the adversary is challenging Job's righteousness.
Yeah.
Presenting arguments against him, claiming that Job's piety is superficial, motivated purely by the blessings he enjoys.
Right, like he's only righteous because he's got all these great things.
Exactly.
And he wagers that if those blessings were taken away...
Oh, this is getting interesting.
Job would curse God.
Okay, so it's a test of faith then.
It's a test of faith with incredibly high stakes.
Yeah.
And God, surprisingly, allows the adversary to test Job.
He does.
But with one crucial caveat.
What's that?
He cannot harm Job physically.
Okay, so the test is on, But there's some limits.
There are definitely some boundaries set.
Interesting.
And that's when the adversary unleashes a series of calamities upon Job.
Oh, no.
Each one more devastating than the last.
Oh, my goodness.
First, his livestock are stolen or killed.
All of his livestock?
Imagine a farmer today losing their entire herd.
Wow, their livelihood.
In an instant.
That's devastating.
Then a fire consumes Job's house.
No.
Killing all of his servants.
Oh, this is awful.
And as if that wasn't enough.
What else could happen?
A violent storm collapses the house where his children are feasting, killing them all.
This is just wave after wave of unimaginable loss.
It's hard to even comprehend.
I mean, and remember Job's deep-seated anxieties.
Oh, about his children.
About his children's spiritual well-being.
Right.
Now, those anxieties are tragically intertwined with their physical deaths.
It's a devastating blow that strikes at the very core of his fears.
It's hard to imagine how anyone could handle that.
So how does Job react to all of this?
Yeah. Does he crumble under the weight of such immense suffering?
Well, here we see the true strength of Job's character.
Okay.
Stripped of everything he holds dear.
Yeah.
He doesn't curse God.
She doesn't.
The text describes him tearing his clothes, shaving his head in mourning, falling to the ground in grief.
Yeah.
But he utters these powerful words.
What does he say?
Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return.
Whoa.
The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
That's incredible.
It's a powerful expression of faith amidst unimaginable loss.
It really is.
It seems Job's righteousness isn't just outward piety.
Right.
It's rooted in a deep understanding of God's sovereignty and a willingness to accept even the most painful circumstances.
This is precisely what the adversary had challenged.
Right.
Was Job's faith genuine or merely a product of his blessings? In this moment of profound grief, Job proves the adversary wrong.
It's a powerful moment.
But, as you might have guessed,
I have a feeling there's more to come.
The story doesn't end there.
Of course not.
The adversary, persistent as ever, returns to God's court.
He's not giving up.
He argues that Job is only enduring because he hasn't experienced physical suffering.
Oh, so he's upping the ante.
Yeah, he claims that if Job were to experience pain in his own body, he would surely curse God.
So it seems like he's determined to break Job's spirit.
It sounds like it.
And again, God permits the test to continue.
Wow, he does.
But with the same condition,
right.
Job's life must be spared.
All right, so the test continues, but within boundaries.
Right.
What happens next?
The adversary then afflicts Job with painful sores that cover his entire body.
Oh, that's just awful.
It's difficult to comprehend the physical and emotional agony Job must have endured.
I can't even imagine.
He's being tested on every level imaginable.
It's like he's going through every kind of suffering possible.
The text paints a vivid picture of his suffering.
How so?
Describing him sitting among the ashes, scraping his sores with a piece of broken pottery.
It's a heartbreaking image.
Even Job's wife, overwhelmed by their shared grief, urges him to curse God and die.
Oh, that's tough.
I mean, it's a heart-wrenching scene.
Yeah.
A testament to the depths of human suffering.
It really shows how suffering can strain even the strongest bonds.
Absolutely.
So does Job finally break?
Yet even in this utter despair, Job refuses to curse God.
He still holds on to his faith.
He responds to his wife, "Shall we receive good from God, and shall we not receive evil?"
That's a powerful statement.
It's a challenging statement that acknowledges suffering as part of the human experience, while still affirming faith in God's goodness.
He's not denying the reality of the suffering?
No, he's not sugarcoating it.
But he's still holding on to his belief in God.
Job's response is raw and honest.
It's refreshing to see that kind of honesty in the Bible.
He doesn't offer easy answers or platitudes about suffering.
He's wrestling with his pain, questioning God, expressing his anguish.
He doesn't shy away from the hard questions.
But he never wavers in his commitment to God.
His story is a reminder that faith isn't about avoiding suffering, but persevering through it.
It's about holding on to hope.
Yes.
Even when everything seems lost.
Absolutely.
And this brings us to a crucial turning point in the story.
Okay.
The arrival of Job's friends.
Oh, so some support finally arrives.
Well, they come intending to comfort him, but their words, rather than offering solace, end up challenging Job's understanding of God and the nature of suffering.
So instead of being a source of support, Job's friends add to his burden.
Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened.
How does that play out?
Well, let's save that for our next deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll pick up the story there and see how Job's friends respond to his suffering.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. It's a fascinating part of the story.
It really is, and it raises some important questions about how we understand suffering and faith.
Absolutely. Questions that are still relevant today.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the book of Job.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll be back next time to continue our exploration of this powerful and thought-provoking story.
See you then.
All right, take care.
You too.
So Job's friends arrive, expecting to offer comfort. But instead, they launch into these long speeches, trying to explain his suffering.
It seems like they're more concerned with defending their own
theological ideas than truly empathizing with Job's pain.
It's a classic case of, missing the point.
What's your take on this?
Well, Job's friends represent a common human response to suffering that need to find explanations.
Yeah, we want to make sense of things.
To assign blame.
Right.
To make sense of what seems senseless.
Yeah, it's hard to accept that sometimes things just happen.
They embody that traditional belief.
Okay.
That suffering is a direct consequence of sin.
Oh, so they're coming from that perspective.
Exactly.
That if you're suffering, you must have done something wrong.
Right. They simply can't reconcile Job's righteousness with the tragedies that have befallen him.
So they conclude that Job must have some secret sin he's hiding.
Pretty much.
Like, you must have done something to anger God.
Yeah, come on, what is it?
Not exactly the most supportive approach.
No, not at all. It highlights a deeply ingrained human tendency.
What's that?
We seek order and predictability.
Yeah, we like things to make sense.
In a world that often feels chaotic and unfair.
And that's just not how the world works.
It's comforting to believe that good things happen to good people.
Right.
And bad things to bad people.
Yeah, like karma, but
exactly.
Life's not always that simple.
Even when reality contradicts that belief.
And in Job's case, it's definitely contradicting that belief.
Big time.
But Job vehemently denies their accusations.
Oh, really?
He insists he's done nothing to deserve this suffering.
So he's standing his ground.
He even challenges God.
Wow. He challenges God.
To reveal his wrongdoing.
That's bold.
It's almost as if he's putting God on trial.
He's demanding answers.
Absolutely.
Job's response is incredibly bold.
It really is.
He doesn't passively accept traditional explanations for suffering.
He's pushing back.
He dares to question God's justice and demand an accounting.
It raises some profound questions.
Yeah, about the nature of faith and the limits of human understanding.
Yeah.
His friends, though, they keep trying to fit Job's experience into their neat theological boxes.
It's like they have this pre-packaged answer.
Yeah. Maybe God is testing your faith.
Right. Or perhaps you're being punished for some hidden sin.
It sounds like they're trying to convince themselves as much as Job.
It's easier to stick with the familiar explanation.
Yeah, even when it doesn't quite fit.
Their arguments, though perhaps well-intentioned.
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to be malicious.
Completely fail to address the depth and complexity of Job's suffering.
They just don't get it.
They offer simplistic solutions.
Right, it's like a Band-Aid on a gaping wound.
To a profound problem, revealing how limited human wisdom can be.
Especially when we try to understand the ways of God.
In the face of divine mystery.
Yeah, we're just little humans trying to wrap our heads around something so much bigger than us.
And Job sees right through their attempts.
Yeah, he's not buying it.
He refutes their arguments with passion and eloquence.
And he doesn't hold back.
Pointing out the inconsistencies in their logic and the hypocrisy of their judgments.
He's calling them out.
It's a clash between traditional beliefs and the raw reality of lived experience.
Job's coming from a place of real pain and suffering.
And his friends are just throwing these platitudes at him.
That's just not helpful.
What makes Job's responses so compelling is his raw honesty. He cries out to God in anguish.
He's not afraid to be real with God.
Questioning why he's been abandoned.
Right.
Pleading for an explanation.
He lays it all out there.
It's a powerful reminder that faith doesn't demand.
Okay.
We suppress our doubts or deny our pain.
It's okay to question and doubt.
It's part of the journey.
This honesty makes Job's story incredibly relatable.
It makes him human.
Yeah, he's not some stoic superhero.
Right.
Enduring suffering without complaint.
He's not just gritting his teeth and bearing it.
No, he's struggling.
He's a real person.
Yeah.
Wrestling with doubt, anger, and despair.
He's going through it.
And in the end, It's that willingness to wrestle with the difficult questions that sets him apart.
He doesn't shy away from them.
He leans into them.
He doesn't settle for easy answers or blind faith.
He demands a deeper understanding of God's ways.
Even if it means challenging his own beliefs.
Exactly.
And then at last, God speaks.
Oh, wow, the moment we've all been waiting for.
But it's not the answer Job was expecting.
Oh, really?
God doesn't explain himself or offer justification for Job's suffering.
He doesn't give him the answers he's looking for.
Instead, he responds with a series of questions that highlight the vastness of creation and the limitations of human knowledge.
So he's basically saying, look at the bigger picture.
Exactly. What do you make of this moment?
This is where many readers of Job struggle.
Yeah, because we want answers.
They expect a clear explanation, a reason for the pain.
Right, and instead they get more questions.
But God's response is both awe-inspiring and humbling.
It's a reminder that God's ways are not our ways.
It reminds us that our human attempts to grasp the universe with our finite minds are ultimately futile.
We can't possibly understand everything.
And his thoughts are higher than our thoughts.
It shifts the focus away from Job's suffering and towards the majesty and incomprehensibility of God.
It's a perspective shift.
Yeah, a big one.
And how does Job respond to this?
Well, Job acknowledges his limited understanding.
He humbles himself.
And repents for questioning God's justice.
He realizes he was overstepping.
He recognizes that true faith requires a surrender to the mystery of God's will.
We have to let go of our need to control everything.
Even when it doesn't make sense to us.
It's about trust.
It's not about getting the answers we want, but about trusting.
Even when we don't understand.
That's the hardest part.
It is, but it's also the most important part.
So Job's story doesn't give us a tidy solution to the problem of suffering.
Instead, it offers a powerful testament to the resilience of faith in the face of unimaginable adversity.
It teaches us that even when we question doubt and despair,
even in those dark moments,
and still hold on to hope
and find solace in the presence of God.
The story concludes with Job being restored to health and prosperity.
Oh, wow. So things turn around for him.
Even more blessed than before.
That's a pretty happy ending.
It feels like a happy ending.
Yeah.
But it also leaves us with lingering questions.
That's the beauty of the book of Job.
What do you mean?
It doesn't tie everything up neatly.
Right.
It leaves us with the question, why do good people suffer?
It's a question that has haunted humanity for centuries.
It's a question that each of us must grapple with.
Yeah, on our own journey of faith.
It's a personal question.
Job's story challenges us to confront the reality of suffering.
Yeah, we can't just pretend it doesn't exist.
To search for meaning and purpose, even in the midst of pain.
Even when it feels like there's no hope.
It reminds us that faith isn't about avoiding hardship.
Right.
But about finding God's presence.
Even in the darkest of valleys.
And perhaps the greatest lesson of all.
What's that?
True faith isn't about having all the answers.
It's about
like trying to fit it into some kind of theological framework.
Exactly. And it seems like they're more concerned with defending their own ideas about God.
Right. More than actually empathizing with Job's pain.
Exactly. It's a classic case of, missing the point.
What's your take on this?
Well, I think Job's friends represent a common human response to suffering that need to find explanations to assign blame.
Right, to make sense of what seems senseless.
Exactly. It's just so hard to accept that sometimes things just happen.
Right, for no reason.
And they embody this traditional belief that suffering is a direct consequence of sin.
Oh, so they're coming from that perspective.
Exactly. If you're suffering, you must have done something wrong.
Right, you must have brought it on yourself.
He simply can't reconcile Job's righteousness with the tragedies that have befallen him.
Right, because he's supposed to be this...
Yeah, he's supposed to be this perfect guy.
This righteous man. So how could all this bad stuff be happening?
Exactly.
So they conclude that Job must have some secret sin he's hiding.
Right, something he's not telling them.
You must have done something to anger God.
Come on, what is it?
Not exactly the most supportive approach.
No, not at all. It actually highlights a deeply ingrained human tendency.
What's that?
We want to seek order and predictability.
Yeah, we like things to make sense.
In a world that often feels chaotic and unfair.
But that's not always how the world works.
Exactly. We try to impose order on chaos.
Right, and sometimes it just doesn't fit.
It's comforting to believe that good things happen to good people and bad things to bad people.
Yeah, it's the whole idea of karma.
Exactly.
But life's not always that simple.
It really isn't.
And in Job's case, it's definitely contradicting that belief.
Big time.
But Job vehemently denies their accusations.
Oh, really?
He insists he's done nothing to deserve this suffering.
So he's sticking to his guns?
He even challenges God to reveal his wrongdoing.
Wow, he challenges God. That's pretty bold.
It's almost as if he's putting God on trial.
He's demanding answers, that's for sure.
Yeah, Job's response is incredibly bold.
It really is. He doesn't passively accept those traditional explanations for suffering.
He's pushing back against that whole paradigm.
He dares to question God's justice and demands an accounting.
It raises profound questions about the nature of faith and the limits of human understanding.
It does. It really challenges us to think about what it means to trust in God, even when things don't make sense.
But Job's friends, they keep trying to fit his experience into their neat theological boxes.
Right, they have these pre-packaged answers.
Maybe God is testing your faith, or perhaps you're being punished for some hidden sin.
It's like they're more interested in protecting their own beliefs than truly understanding what Job is going through.
It does sound like they're trying to convince themselves as much as Job.
I think you're right. It's easier to stick with a familiar explanation than to grapple with the unknown.
Yeah, even when it doesn't quite fit.
Exactly.
But their arguments, although well-intentioned, they completely fail to address the depth and complexity of Job's suffering.
They do. They offer simplistic solutions to a profound problem.
Yeah, it's like a Band-Aid on a gaping wound.
It really reveals how limited human wisdom can be in the face of divine mystery.
I mean, we're just little humans trying to wrap our heads around something so much bigger than us.
Exactly. We can't pretend to understand God's ways.
And Job sees right through their attempts to explain away his suffering.
Yeah, he's not buying it.
He refutes their arguments with passion and eloquence.
He doesn't hold back, does he?
No, he calls them out on the inconsistencies in their logic and the hypocrisy of their judgments.
It's a clash between traditional beliefs and the raw reality of lived experience.
Job's coming from a place of real pain and suffering, and his friends are just throwing these platitudes at him.
They just don't get it.
It's just not helpful.
What makes Job's responses so compelling is his raw honesty. He cries out to God in anguish, questions why he's been abandoned, pleads for an explanation.
He doesn't hold anything back. He's real with God.
It's a powerful reminder that faith doesn't demand that we suppress our doubts or deny our pain.
It's okay to question and to doubt.
It's part of the journey.
That honesty makes Job's story incredibly relatable.
It really does. It makes him human.
Yeah, he's not some stoic superhero enduring suffering without complaint.
He's struggling. He's hurting.
He's going through it.
And in the end, it's that willingness to wrestle with difficult questions that sets him apart.
He doesn't shy away from them.
He leans into the hard stuff.
He doesn't settle for easy answers or blind faith.
He demands a deeper understanding of God's ways.
Even if it means challenging his own beliefs.
Exactly. He's not afraid to go there.
And then, at last, God speaks.
Wow, the moment we've all been waiting for.
But it's not the answer Job was expecting.
Oh, really?
God doesn't explain himself or offer any justification for Job's suffering.
He doesn't give him the answers he's been searching for.
Instead, he responds with a series of questions.
Questions. So more questions on top of questions.
That highlight the vastness of creation and the limitations of human knowledge.
So he's basically saying, look at the bigger picture, Job.
Exactly. What do you make of this moment?
It's one of the most challenging passages in the book, I think.
Yeah, because we're conditioned to want answers, to want resolution.
We want a clear explanation, a reason for the pain.
And instead, we get more questions.
It can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But God's response is both awe-inspiring and humbling.
It reminds us that God's ways are not our ways.
It reminds us that our human attempts to grasp the universe with our finite minds are ultimately futile.
We just can't possibly understand everything.
And his thoughts are higher than our thoughts.
It's a real perspective shift, a shift away from Job's suffering.
Right, away from the immediate crisis.
And toward the majesty and the incomprehensibility of God.
It's a reminder that there's a bigger picture, a grander design that we may never fully grasp.
And how does Job respond to this?
Well, he acknowledges his limited understanding.
He humbles himself before God.
And repents for questioning God's justice.
He realizes he was overstepping.
He recognizes that true faith requires surrender.
Surrender to the mystery of God's will.
Right, we have to let go of our need to control everything.
Even when it doesn't make sense to us.
It's about trust, not about understanding.
It's not about getting the answers we want,
Exactly.
but about trusting even when we don't understand.
That's the hard part.
It is, but it's also the most important part.
I think so.
So Job's story doesn't give us a tidy solution to the problem of suffering.
Nope, not at all.
Instead, it offers a powerful testament to the resilience of faith in the face of unimaginable adversity.
It shows us that even when we question, even when we doubt, and even when we despair,
even in those dark moments,
we can still hold on to hope.
And find solace in the presence of God.
Exactly.
The story concludes with Job being restored to health and prosperity, even more blessed than before.
So it's a happy ending, in a way.
It feels like a happy ending, but it also leaves us with lingering questions.
That's the beauty of the book of Job. It doesn't tie everything up neatly.
Right. It doesn't give us all the answers.
It leaves us with that question: why do good people suffer?
It's a question that has haunted humanity for centuries.
It's a question that each of us must grapple with on our own journey of faith.
Job's story challenges us to confront the reality of suffering, to search for meaning and purpose, even in the midst of pain.
Even when it feels hopeless.
It reminds us that faith isn't about avoiding hardship, but about finding God's presence even in the darkest of valleys.
And perhaps the greatest lesson of all is that true faith isn't about having all the answers.
Right. It's not about knowing everything.
It's about trust.
Trusting God even when we don't understand, surrendering to His will, finding hope amidst the mystery.
It's a journey, not a destination.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the book of Job.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope you found it enlightening and thought-provoking.
And maybe even a little bit challenging.
We encourage you to continue exploring this ancient text and wrestling with the questions it raises.
Because sometimes the questions are more important than the answers.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks again for joining us.
Until next time.
Now that we have unpacked Book of Job a bit, we encourage you to reflect on how these truths can be applied to your life this week. For ongoing encouragement, follow Grace Gospel Church on social media GGEFDE on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and more. We explore the messages from Grace Gospel Church. www.gracegospel.church